welcome finally to Podnutz Daily for Thursday, 26th of February 2009, episode number 148. My week has been going terrible this week. Horrible. In computer repair business, you have these weeks sometimes, and by Friday you just say to yourself, I'm quitting. Then by Monday you're okay, but I feel bad for my dad who has to put up with me in the shop because I'm just like constantly in anger. Let me talk about what happened. Hopefully it'll calm me down a bit. And yesterday was just terrible. Sorry I couldn't do the show yesterday. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Yesterday was just too crazy. It was one of those days, and it just kept going and going and going. I didn't have time to prepare. So today went the same way, but I said I have to do the show. So here we go. I like doing the show. It actually relaxes me a little bit. Had a customer. He has a Vista desktop, HP Vista machine. And he could move his mouse, but he couldn't open icons on his desktop. So he brought it in. I hooked it up. It booted up for me. Everything seemed fine for me. He didn't have Service Pack 1 installed, so I installed Service Pack 1, made sure he had all the Windows updates, checked the system for malware using Malware Bytes, ran CCleaner, just cleaned everything up. And everything seemed fine for me. It seemed like he did have some kind of glitch in his updates. He wasn't getting updates properly or something. Anyway, I gave the machine back to him. He took it home, and he plugged it in. He said, Steve, this exact same thing is happening. I'm like, man, what could this possibly be? I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, well, look, just bring it back in. I'll take another look at it, but it was working fine here. Anyway, and about a half an hour later, he calls me back, and he says, look, I just switched my mouse, and everything's fine now. So the reason he couldn't click on icons on his desktop was because his mouse buttons were broken. Bad mouse. So he probably didn't even have to bring the computer in, but we cleaned it up anyway for him, so it all worked out in the end. Windows Live. Oh, this is an interesting thing. I got I do a bit of buying, a lot more buying than selling, but I use eBay a lot. And I had one particular item that I bought, and I thought I paid for it, but apparently I didn't because I got an unpaid item dispute. And I immediately paid for the item, and that was fine. Got an email back from the seller saying, I got your payment, I understand. Because I told him I thought I paid, but I guess I didn't. I was actually wondering why I didn't get the item shipped to me. So that all happened. Then I get an email, I think it was last night, saying, you have an unpaid item strike on your eBay record. And immediately I clicked on the Respond Now button in my in my email, and I use Windows, because I'm testing out Windows 7 Beta, and I use their Windows Live mail client. It's like halfway between Outlook and Outlook Express and Vista Windows Mail. It's nice. You can look at feeds, you can look at contacts, and that's the program I've been using to read my emails at home here. Well, I clicked on that, clicked that email, and then my Windows Live Mail blinked and beeped and would not let me click it. Turns out it was a spoof email, a phishing scheme. And I am good at avoiding phishing schemes. I always look at URLs. I always make sure I go into the site. I almost never click on links in emails. But this particular one, I clicked because I was so mad because I knew I paid, that I wanted to get and respond to this immediately. Windows Live Mail stopped me from hitting that link and probably stopped me from getting a virus, or at least, of course, when I went to the site, I probably would have figured out it was a phishing scheme. And again, I very rarely get tricked into that. So Windows Live Mail saved me on that. So I got to say, good for that program. It's a nifty little program. I like it. It's pretty smooth. I use Gmail a lot, but I still like having a desktop mail client. It's just it feels better for me. So, but I just wanted to say, Windows Live Mail, good job. Next, I am installing, because right now, the way somebody actually asked about this. I have my computer set up for Skype to do live calls for the podcast. Now, I don't use one computer for this job, and that's how I use Skype, and I'm able to record. By the way, I forgot to start my Audacity recording. Okay, oh well. I'll just do it later. I'll just record the audio from the Ustream feed. I'll do it later. Anyway, I use an Asus EPC as my Skype machine. So basically what I do is For me to be able to get Skype calls and able to record in the same machine and record the Skype conversation, I have a mixer. I run an output from my mic. First of all, my mic is plugged into my mixer. It's a PV8 mixer. Mic plugged into one of the channels of the mixer. An output, it's actually the monitor, the effects output. I do an effects send into the input of my Asus EPC. My Asus EPC runs Skype. So when somebody calls on Skype, the Asus EPC picks it up. Now, because I'm running from the mixer into the input of my Asus EPC, everything I say into my mic, the person who's on Skype on the EPC can hear me. Okay, so that part's handled. Now I have to be able to run whatever that person's saying in the Skype conversation from the EPC to my main PC. And I run my EPC back to the mixer through another input of the mixer, another channel. And then I run both my mic and that input into my main computer, and therefore I can record my mic. I could also record whatever anybody's saying on the Skype conversation. So that's how I record Skype. Might sound a little confusing, but I just basically use an effects send to an EPC, and then I go to EPC back into an input of the mixer, and then send the whole output from the mixer to my main computer to record. That's how I do it. I don't want to do that. I would rather have an application or some type of way to just use Skype on my PC. Now, I think Nebin, who is a Podnutz listener and very helpful, uses a program called Virtual Audio Cable to do the exact same thing. He's basically creating a virtual EPC, which I use, and using Virtual Audio Cable. Apparently, I haven't messed with the settings. I didn't have time to sit down and figure it out. Apparently, you can take output audio from different applications, feed them all into one single feed, and record that, which is what I want to do. My computer is definitely capable enough power-wise to handle it. So I downloaded Virtual Audio Cable, and I got the error that Nebin was talking about, which is when you try to run that program, because the driver is unsigned, it won't be loaded by Windows 7. So you have to basically set your Windows 7 machine or your Vista 64-bit machine into test mode. And you do that by going to the command line, and typing bcdedit space /set, that's S-E-T, space test signing, all one word, space on. bcdedit space /set, space test signing, space on. Thank you, Nebin. That worked. At least I got the driver installed, and now I just got to figure out how to use the program. Next thing we want to go over is faxing. I put an ad in the Yellow Pages, and some companies are still in the Stone Age, and they love to